Good morning everybody, good morning to an absolutely wet and very dark southwest Scotland. It is, I must admit, this probably is the wettest October I can ever remember. It's an absolute shocker. I feel sorry for all the people who have decided to holiday in Scotland, and you see them at places I've delivered to recently, in like sort of large campsites with caravans, and you can just see them going out the waterproofs thinking, another wet walk on the day at the beach with the dog. Hope something good's on the TV. Yeah, I feel really sorry for anybody who's coming to holiday here at the moment. However, it is what it is. Today I'm going to be talking about a song by an American band called The Doors. The Doors. From an album called LA Woman. And it was the last album released by The Doors featuring their singer Jim Morrison. Yeah, the song on it's called Riders of the Storm, and yeah, what a story. So basically what happened was, when I was growing up, I was aware of only one Doors song, which is of course Come On Baby Light My Fire, because everybody knows that song, and I knew that song, but I was aware of this other song, Riders on the Storm, by The Doors as well. So that's me two songs. And I remember once I was driving, or somebody, no, I think somebody was driving me. I was working in Chester in about 1983, and somebody was driving me back from Chester in their car, and Riders of the Storm came on over the radio, and it just went on forever, and I just thought, wow, it was the very first time I'd ever really listened to the song. I thought, that is an absolutely amazing song. And shortly afterwards I was in Chester in a place that sold records, and funny enough, there was a guy trying to sell some lassie some records by The Doors, and she goes, "Who's The Doors?" And of course he was absolutely going, "What, you've never heard of The Doors?" Which is ironic, because the band I really like, Joy Division, were actually supposed to be very similar to The Doors. Actually, it wasn't Joy Division was similar to The Doors. It was actually a band called The Stranglers, but it's supposed to be similar to The Doors. And it's funny that this famous interview that Ian Curtis says, where he says Barney and Ucky ain't even heard of The Doors. In other words, Curtis and Morris had heard of The Doors, but the other two, Huck and Sumner, hadn't even heard of The Doors. So anyway, I do remember a book coming out, the first proper book about The Doors. I think it was called Break On Through or Light My Fire, or something like that, written by, I think, called Danny Sugarman. I remember that coming out, but never bothered buying it, because I only knew two Doors songs. Well, that was to change. It changed. I remember what happened was, there was a program in round about might have been 87, when the BBC were doing a lot of BBC or whatever, doing a lot of programs going back to stuff that they'd filmed, or other people filmed it earlier, and there was going to be a documentary about The Doors. It was apparently a documentary filmed by the Granada TV crew when The Doors did their European tour. Might be the only European tour they did, and it was all in black and white, and I was absolutely bigging this up to all my friends. You've got to come round, we'll watch it as it is, because we might have had a video recorded. This is in my in-laws' house, and we sat down, and of course the only song I knew was Light My Fire, and then this incredible song starts off. The song that stuck with me up through watching it was not actually, was obviously not, Riders on the Storm, because they hadn't written it yet. But there's actually a song called, a really early song that they did. I don't think it even appeared on the first album. It was called When the Music's Over. And the very first time I'd heard this song, and I just thought, wow, actually, when it first started, I thought it was actually Come On Baby Light My Fire, and I'd never heard it before. And When the Music's Over, wow, what a song, and I loved it ever since, dearly loved it. So what happened was, after that I went out and bought, after watching the documentary, I thought I need to buy more Doors stuff, and I went and bought like this double CD which had tons and tons of Doors songs on it, and of course that's when I really got into you know, got into the song Riders on the Storm. I didn't know it actually came off this album at the time because it was just a compilation. But wow, what a song. I absolutely loved it, and I went and bought this Doors book and I read it, and it was only when I was reading it, I think it became obvious at that point that Jim Morrison never actually got to hear, I believe, the completed version of Riders on the Storm, the bit where it starts off with the thunder clouds and the lightning started. I don't think he heard it. Apparently the band members had a conversation with, by this time he'd gone off to France to live in Paris. And they were saying, oh, you've got to hear this, Jim, we've put this lovely bit that comes onto the intro. And I don't think he ever got to hear it because, of course, we know that he died in a bathtub in France. You know, allegedly. The book at the end gave different versions of that he may have been bumped off intentionally, or that it was just a ruse. That he was still with us, that only 2 people had ever seen the dead Jim. Well, anyway, I believe he's dead. Well, he better be dead, because I went to visit his grave. So, sorry Jim if you're listening. And so that was that, you know, that was, you know, I read the book, obviously. I bought the 2 CDs. And then I got into a film called Apocalypse Now. And of course, Apocalypse Now, if you've ever bothered watching it, there's this wonderful scene which takes the music from one of the Doors songs, This Is the End With It, which is another, wow, what a song. And yeah, this fantastic scene where they've sort of built, you know, Jim's words and the music into the playing of the film. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So if you haven't watched Apocalypse Now, watch it again, and be in mind there's this wonderful bit in it where you hear Jim singing, and it's just it's very special moment. And then started buying a lot of the Doors stuff on cassette after that, trying to buy them. Subsequently I sold all my cassettes, and I bought them all on expanded DVD in a lovely box set. So yeah, they're all there now. And in 1998 I went on holiday to France, toured a little bit of Normandy and Brittany. We went to Paris, and we went with a couple of friends of ours, and when we stayed over in Paris, I said to them, they of course wanted to go to the Eiffel Tower and you know, boat trip, and you know, the galleries and seeing the Mona Lisa. I wanted to go and see the famous cemetery where Jim Morrison was actually buried, and we had to go different part of the Paris metro to get there. My friend's wife was pregnant at the time, so going to see the grave of a band she'd never heard of, you know. And so I just dragged my wife and my mate and his wife through the Paris metro to get to this, I think it's called Père Lachaise cemetery, where not only Jimbo's buried, but also I think Oscar Wilde's in there, Edith Piaf's in there, anyhow, other people, and I think whose graves we actually passed, but I never spent time looking at their graves. It's just been a little bit more time looking at Oscar Wilde's grave, because he's an interesting fellow. And instead I was on the hunt to find Jim Morrison's grave, you know, to pay homage to Jimbo. And as I turned up, there were a few people there and flowers, and I had a video camera, and back then video cameras were huge, you know, some video cameras like the size of a book, and you know, a big thing like that. Because I turned up, there was some sort of, you know, Jobs-worthy guard there, and I turned up with my camera, and he's doing this to me, you know, actually standing in front of me doing this. I'm there trying to video Jim Morrison's grave, where all the people are taking photos. Apparently, photographs are alright, but videos they're not all right. So he's doing this to me, and I thought, wow, what a twat. So I don't sort of gone ahead from anybody else to try and find Jimbo's grave, because I said, I'll go and find it. So, plus my mate's pregnant wife, Steph, she wasn't as fast on her feet due to being pregnant at the time, walking through the cemetery. And I went back to him and says, look, do us a favour, we're all going to go up to the graveyard. You guys stand around the side of it. I'm going to put the video camera under my arm and we'll talk to each other. So we all went up together, and I had the video camera on record under my arm so the guy couldn't really see it. Well, it didn't look like I was recording anyway. And then I got to record, but I was sort of swiveling my body this way so I could record, get Jimbo's grave on video, which is ironic now because of course everybody's got one of these things, you know. Well, honestly, I'm only actually taking a picture instead of actually going live. Hi, we're here at Jim Morrison's grave. Yeah, change times. Well, we'll come back to that one because it does come back to that one a bit later on. So what happened was, that was it, got to see Jimbo's grave, and then came the opportunity that two members, the two surviving members, although there were three at this time, I don't know why John Densmore wasn't included, that's the drummer of the Doors. Anyway, basically Robbie Krieger and Ray Manzarek, the keyboard player, decided to reform and to go live and take out the Doors show as the Doors of the 21st century. Now, previous to this, I'd gone to see, because I was so much into the Doors, I went to see a band called the Australian Doors several times in Glasgow, and I really loved it. I went to see them in the Glasgow Pavilion one day, and I've never taken drugs before, but there was that much hash getting smoked down at the front. I was being overwhelmed and affected by it. That, you know, it was what a great concert that was. It was brilliant. And the sing, I can't even mind who the guy who was doing the sing at the time. He did a good Jim Morrison. So I went to see the Doors of the 21st Century. They were playing at the Birmingham NEC in 2003, and bizarrely the same couple that accompanied us to Jimbo's grave, they stayed. Well, we were living in Glasgow at the time. And they stayed maybe a good hour and a half away from Birmingham, so we went and stayed with them, stayed up again. So we left with plenty of good time to drive to. This is before Google Maps, of course, when you just look at a wee map. And we were driving to the Birmingham NEC to go and see the Doors of the 21st Century. You know, absolutely exciting. And I'm going to see two original members of the Doors, and I think the singer at the time was a guy called Ian Astbury, out of the Cult, I think he was. Don't know, but he sounds and looks a little like Jim Morrison. So I was fair looking forward to this, absolutely looking forward to this. And I'd taken my video camera along. In fact, the same video camera that I'm doing this with now. So I've had this for a few years. So taking this video camera along with me, I thought I've got to definitely record a Doors song, and the Doors song that I wanted to record. I was like, which one should I do? Which one should I do? And I decided of all the Doors songs, if they were going to do it that night, I was going to record the sort of long keyboard solo in Riders of the Storm. I thought, I definitely wanted to do that song. So we turned up at the Birmingham NEC. And it was very, very quiet. I was a bit confused, and there was like nobody there, and I was a little bit worried. And I said to some guy there, I was about to pop my car, and I got out, and this guard said to me, he says, who are you here to see? He says, the Doors of the 21st Century. He says, wrong place, mate. And I'm going, what do you mean wrong place? He says, this is the NEC. The place you wanted to go to is called the NIA, the National Indoor Arena. Wrong venue. And then I says, how far? And then he told me how to get to it. I couldn't believe I'd spectacularly ballsed it up here. I got there plenty of time, only to find out I was in the wrong part of the town, the wrong venue, and I was going to be late. So then we headed down the way he told us to go, and I got stuck in some traffic jam. There'd been an accident, and I thought, for fuck's sake. So eventually we arrived at the NIA, sounds like the IRA. So this is December the 14th, 2003. I had to check because I wasn't too sure when I actually went to it. And yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know how much of the set I missed. This is the first time I've seen the set list. So I'm not too sure when I got in. Hey ho, I don't know. But anyway, I got in and basically the Doors of the 21st Century were already playing. And we got shown our seats. And of course lots of people were standing up in between the aisles. Really enjoyed it, fantastic, great, you know, there's Ray Manzarek, oh my god, there's Robbie Krieger, oh my god, you know, we are not worthy, we're not worthy. And then obviously it came to that moment when I thought I need to record, you know, the segment here of Riders of the Storm. So of course it came up to I thought I'll record it from the beginning, and I think unfortunately for me Ray Manzarek was doing a very long keyboard solo as he did do in Riders of the Storm. I think the original version was 7 minutes long. I think he was maybe stretching it to 9 minutes. So of course I'm there standing there with this video camera. These are changed times. Of course now everybody and their dog at concerts is doing that and recording every song live going. I thought I'll just do this one. So I'm standing there with video camera. And I'm recording Ray Manzarek doing this keyboard solo in Riders of the Storm. And then all of a sudden, looking into the viewfinder, all of a sudden it goes black. And I mean it goes black because standing in front of me was a great big black security guard. And he said in his Birmingham accent, Brummie accent, which I can't really do a Brummie accent. He goes, "Well, what do you think you're doing?" And I said, I was just recording a bit of Riders of the Storm. And he says, next thing is, I got escorted out, and people behind me had been seeing me videoing this, and they actually clapped as I got escorted out of the arena. And I actually got escorted out of the arena, had to go during Riders of the Storm. I had to go out, follow me, right, you've been caught doing, you know, he says, you know, you can get booted out for this. And I say, look, I says, my wife's back in there. He says, okay, we'll let you back in, but you've got to leave your video camera here, and we'll just give you a receipt. So I was there for, I must have been 5 minutes, and after that, I might have missed looking at the set list. The Wasp, Texas Radio and the Big Beat, and the High and Sith Howl, which, to be honest with you, I don't particularly like the song The Wasp or the High and Sith Howl, but I think I got back in time for Crawling King Slink, which I do like. So unfortunately I missed the end of Riders of the Storm. Hey ho. And after the show had finished, I had to then go back and reclaim my camera. But luckily they never ever deleted the footage. And then somewhere on a hard drive in my lounge, one day when I've got time, when I've retired, I'm going to go through all the footage of things I've done over the years, and I'll re-find this bit of footage of the Doors of the 21st Century. It wasn't the last time I saw the Doors of the 21st Century. I think shortly afterwards, something happened that John Densmore complained that these laddies were going on tour using the word Doors in their title, and they had to then come back and rebrand themselves. And I saw them again in Glasgow, and by this time I think they had to change the name due to John Densmore saying you can't go out with the Doors in your title. I can't remember what they call themselves. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I made that all up. Maybe they called themselves the LA Doors, I can't remember. And what happened was I went to see them again, and this time the original bass player who played on a lot of the Doors sessions, the original bass player who played on this session, he managed to rejoin the band. So I got to see, another favourite of mine is LA Woman. Well, that bass player who played that bass line on this album was on tour with them, so it was like, you know, it was a wee bit better. So I got to see them there again, which is a really good night. And then another time I went to see them yet again in Glasgow, and I took a mate of mine, and I wasn't near the front, and I thought I want to be near the front. So I sort of, when the security guard wasn't looking, I sort of bypassed him, but I didn't have a ticket to allow me to get into the front, the standing bit. And I got to the front, and funny if the same thing happened, there was a wee guy there with some shitty wee phone, and he took a picture of the band playing, and some arsehole connected to the band came right up to him, and he was an American guy saying, "I want that." Says, I want that picture." It was probably a weed, it's a really early doors of phones. It's probably a shit picture, and then she came up to him and says, "I want your phone," and the guy just put his phone in the back of his pocket. You know, it's just, and you know, compare that with the things that happen these days. What was the guy going to do it? You know, was he going to like sell it and make a million bucks? No, he wasn't. It's probably a shit picture. He's probably got rid of it. So anyway, so I'm at the front. My mate's driven us to this thing, which allows me to drink, and I'm down for a couple of drinks to get really into the thing. But of course, the problem is, once I go out the front, I don't have a ticket to show that I can get back in. So I've got to try and make the security guard, a different security guard, believe that I belong to the front, because I needed, you know, a drink and a PP combo, which they don't sell. They just do. Obviously, the PP was free, and I wish the drink was free because it cost about £8, I think, at this particular venue. And I went past the security guard, and I actually showed him my T-shirt. And I just said, "Remember my T-shirt," to prove that when I come back, I'll go, "Oh, that's all right, pal. Yeah, I remember you. You don't have to show me your ticket because I remember your T-shirts." So I can't even mind what my T-shirt was. It might have been a Joy Division T-shirt. I can't remember. I think it was a Joy Division T-shirt. So I went out and got out my pint. It might have been 2 pints. I might have then come back with 2 pints. And I came back. It probably was. I thought I'd do the PP and the 2-pint combo. So I went and got my 2 pints and might come back with them. And as I came back, the thing goes in, I just went like this, you know, this, and he just went, "In you go, pal." So I got back in amongst the horde at the front, despite the fact that I had a ticket from the seat way at the back. And that was the last time I saw them, because after that, of course, there was this rumour that Ray Manzarek had actually passed away, which actually he hadn't, but shortly afterwards, he did actually die. And then, of course, you wondered whether it was true or not he died, but unfortunately he's dead now. He has broken on through to the other side. I bought lots. I bought Ray Manzarek's book about the Doors, John Densmore's book about the Doors. Jim Morrison never did a book about the Doors because he's a bit dead. And next thing is, just last year, Robbie Krieger finally released his book about the Doors, and there it is, called "Set the Night on Fire." And I managed to blag myself a signed copy of the book there, and as you can see, I've just basically only started it because I haven't had the time really. Maybe we shouldn't do less of these videos, more about reading books about books I've got to do. So anyway, yes, so that's it. So I'm still reading that book, still love the Doors, and yes, so I'm going to do a link, not a link to a live version of this song, because of course, unfortunately, I don't think the Doors got to do a live version of Riders of the Storm. I don't think they did. I think they played it. I think the last gig was in the Isle of Wight Festival. They might have done one more in Europe. I think that was it, but I don't think they did Riders of the Storm. So anyway, I'll have to do a link to a studio version of Riders of the Storm. So if you haven't ever heard of Riders of the Storm before, just sit down and spend 7 quality minutes with a fantastic song, or just ask our lovely female, it's moved over there now, our female talking box to play it for you. Well, there you go. That's my story about the Doors. Hey, that was a long one, wasn't it? Anyway, so see you another time. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to do some decorating yet again. Bye bye.